This call is being recorded.
Good afternoon. We'll call the meeting back to order. We're going to move to 4.32, broadband update.
My name is Gary Schultz. We are the project consultants for Tricon Solutions for the Wheatland County Strategic Broadband Initiative. The broadband update starts on page 177 of the agenda. We are looking for this report to be passed as information. At the top of the report, you will see the project timeline in green. It has been updated to reflect the current status as of this report submission date. The project is progressing on schedule and on budget. As a key project deliverable, the team developed a strategic plan that outlines industry standard high-level broadband options that could be available to the county. The strategic plan is non-technical, and the county will be looking to the RFP respondents to provide the technical information, including proposed network designs, costs, and phasing to support technical solutions. The Wheatland County draft broadband strategic plan has been reviewed by administration and is included in this council meeting's agenda package. The project team is available by request over the summer to meet with individual council members to review the strategic plan and their division reports and answer any questions. Also, we've reviewed the document internally and externally several times for correctness, but heard this morning that there are a few remaining typos found by some very sharp-eyed council members that we very much appreciate. We're happy to review your feedback if you found any remaining typos or issues. The RFP process has been initiated, and the RFP was posted to the public on the Alberta Purchasing Exchange on June 1st, 2021. In order to receive the most responses possible and to encourage vendors to apply, the team contacted vendors that have expressed interest in responding to advise them that the RFP is open and taking responses. The RFP will close July 15th, 2021 at 1 p.m. MST, and the project will move into the evaluation phase. Council will be provided a recommended option in the August 24th council meeting, and the strategic plan will be updated with your decision and direction. This completes the broadband project update. Thank you.
Any questions regarding the update or the draft report? There was also division results circulated in the addendum package.
I'll move to accept as information.
Councillor Wilson has moved. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to, I imagine there will be a lot more fulsome discussion when the RFP's submissions come back. We'll move to 4.33, request for insurance coverage, the Vault Cultural Collective.
Good afternoon, Council. Tracy from Administration. Recently, the Vault Culture Collective contacted Administration and requested to be added as an ANI, or additionally named insurance, under our insurance, RMA insurance. I have Rhonda, who will do a brief presentation about this organization. Rhonda, are you available?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Tracy. Good afternoon, Reed Lincoln, Wheatland County Council. As Tracy mentioned, my name is Rhonda Christie Stockwell, and I'm the chairperson of the Western District Historical Society. I have deep ties to the Wheatland County as I was raised on a farm just east of your office. So you're probably wondering, what is the Vault? We are located at 135 2nd Avenue, Main Street, in the town of Strathmore. A quick history of the building. The Union Bank opened in 1910 as the first bank in Strathmore, years later changing the name to Royal Bank of Canada. Late 60s, a new bank building was built across the street. This building then became the home of the Strathmore Standard newspaper for many years. After the paper relocated, the building sat empty until the Ron and Kelly Warwick family took on the massive job of refurbishing the building and restoring it back to its original appearance. The Warwicks opened a retail space, a standard shoe shop, and were open for 5 years before closing. Fortunately for us, Ron Warwick reached out to the Wheatland Society of Arts and the Western District Historical Society upon opening up a community center for residents to enjoy. Okay, last September, a non-society group was formed, which includes Arts on 817, the Strathmore Children's Choir, Strathmore Performing Arts Festival, the Strathmore Theatre Players Guild, the Western District Historical Society, and the Wheatland Society of Arts. We've been working in getting the Vault Cultural Collective opened, and prior to opening in late summer, we hope with COVID restrictions in place. We require liability insurance, which has brought our group to the Wheatland County RMA Insurance for consideration. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda. Any questions regarding the request?
Council, you'll note that RMA Insurance provided us a few criteria, and basically that it's ANIs be a non-profit organization, that they bring a benefit to the greater good of the community, and that they have a relationship with the county. So that can be a representation on the board, or minutes of all meetings are provided to the county. And a resolution is required by RMA prior to adding an ANI.
And if I could just preface it, when we organized the Western District Historical Society years ago, Pat Leach, who was with the county at the time, was our treasurer, and she was able to obtain insurance under the Wheatland County umbrella. So that is why I approached the Wheatland County once again to see if our group could be included, which the Historical Society is a big part of, could be considered for the same type of insurance coverage.
And the society could provide their minutes to meet that third requirement. Perfect.
Yes.
Any questions regarding the initiative or the request to go as an ANI under our insurance? A motion from council?
I'll move that council approve the Vault Culture Collective to be added as an additional named insured with all expenses to be covered by the organization, and further that council accept the association's presentation as information.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Rhonda, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to share about the project. I think it's really exciting for our community, and I look forward to visiting. I can't wait.
Yes, if you'd like to make a note that we will be having a open house for our sponsors and Wheatland County on Friday. Sorry, I have that written down. It's September 16th, I believe it is. We'd love to have you come by for the evening to drop in, have a tour of the building, but an official invitation will be forthcoming to council.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Best wishes, and thanks for your work for the community. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and yours too. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
We'll move to 4.41. Community and Development Services Report.
Good afternoon, Council. Matt from Administration here to present the June 2021 Community and Development Services Report, found on page 299 of your agenda package. A couple of salient points to update you on. In Parks and Rec under Community Services, obviously we're very proud of the landscape and screening guidelines, and we posted it to website and media channels that council approved, so those are up and running, and we know that many residents are consulting with those. Our next quarter plans, just of note, are Open Space, Recreation and Culture Master Plan. The department intends to put that before council after summer recess for some comments and get that kind of approved before the fall election. We're going to continue with the recreation cost sharing discussions, of course, CURB grant recipients, coordinating those projects with the county, ongoing work for that in the summer. For economic development, obviously we are sad to note our economic development officer's departure, Patrick Earl, who's done some exceptional and extraordinary work for the county over the last 2.5 years. So Patrick will be departing. However, it's Tuesday, so this is the second day of Jamie Cramble's posting as our Economic Development Officer, so we're happy to have him on board. As you know, Jamie was our Investment Attraction Specialist. We put together our Investment Attraction Strategy, and we're going to continue rolling that out. That's part of our Economic Development Plan, so that will not slide, and we're evaluating that division's kind of workload as we proceed throughout 2021. So we're excited to welcome Jamie on board in that role as well. As Revelink noted, our Infinite Possibilities call, we had one of those, and we're going to be returning after the summer, evaluating how we can continue those calls moving forward into Q3 and Q4 of 2021. The Next Level project for our gateway signage and our signage plan. I know our committee met last week, and we're going to continue rolling that out and working in terms of the footprint of the signs for Tier 1 and Tier 2 moving forward in that regard. So we're going to continue with that project, obviously with Patrick's departure, and continue rolling that out. On page 300 and 301, we have some fire ongoing reporting there. So we have some self-contained breathing apparatus training. We are really focusing on that training and the ongoing networking with our members as we move forward into the summer. We're going to have some capital committee meetings rolling into August that we're excited for and we're gearing up for prior to budget 2022. You'll note as well our dispatch calls, our statistics are there, but moving forward, more importantly, you're going to see on page 303 some updated work with the Carsland Fire Hall. We're on budget. We're looking at a variance of close to 200,000 with our estimated cost to completion. All the timelines are still in check, so we're moving forward in that regard and hoping to have that opening end of August, September. So if any differences or any changes come, I'll certainly let council know as we move forward with that project. One of the important notes that I'd like to make actually was with planning and development. If you'll note the statistics there, we are quite high this year with our permitting. That is due in part to obviously heavier traction with applications, developments, but also working with some of our developments to get some of those development permits up to speed and in check. So our development officer and our planning staff are quite busy. So if you note, obviously year to date in May, 253 total number of permits. The delta is extreme in terms of looking at 2020 and 2019. So just to make that note to council. And then of course, protective services on page 305 of the report. Just some notes there. Protective services, they did a lot of speed trap and school bus. We noticed a lot of traffic passing school buses when they're stopped. So we did a lot of work in that, particularly in Muirfield, working with the residents there. So that's the report. I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? If not, a motion to accept the report as information.
So moved.
Councillor Wilson has moved. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 4.42. The follow-up to the discussion around egg processing uses.
Good afternoon, Council. Stephen Kuntz from Administration. So this item is in response to Resolution CM 2021-0449, in which Council directed Administration to review agricultural processing major and minor uses within the Ag General District. So we have prepared a report for you, which provides definitions of the uses in district, summarizes past development permits, explores some other land uses, and discusses tax and assessment practices, and provides some options and recommendations. So I'll give a bit of a summary here, just kind of generally what we sort of determined, and then lead into the recommendation. So essentially, the agricultural processing minor and major uses are there to essentially enhance agricultural operations, whether it's a business operation or an existing agricultural operation. Obviously, that's a major part of the economy and the culture here is agriculture. So this is something that actually allows them to expand, agricultural producers to expand and find different revenue streams. So the thing with the uses, why they are so vague, that's kind of by design. A lot of the uses that we have, if you think of something like a hotel or a service station, that's rather obvious for what it is. But things like this allow for the potential that we just can't anticipate every single type of business that would be operated. And it also allows for changing demographic changes, technology, whatever it might be, that some business producer or somebody wants to run, expand their business or whatever it might be, they can think of things that we just haven't. So this allows the plan to be adaptive and encourages those opportunities. Also allows, if a potential business wants to locate in the county, again, it gives them a broader perspective of the type of uses that they can use. So that obviously we do recognize, obviously the council has concern with some of the particularly larger scale operations. So on page 3, actually I can go to this thing, 319, so we summarize some of the existing uses, so particularly the agricultural processing major uses. So there were a couple from 2009 and 2010, so the inland grain terminal and the seed cleaning plant. So those were agricultural processing at the time. However, when the land use bylaw was renewed or redone in 2016, those two in particular, along with a number of others, were identified that they probably weren't appropriate in the ag general district. So for whatever the reason, maybe they didn't have made it to industrial general. So I would note, for example, grain terminal in the existing land use bylaw could be accommodated under agricultural support services, and fertilizer production facility could be accommodated under hazardous industry, for example. So likely, if similar uses to these were to come forward today, it wouldn't be through the agricultural processing use, it would be through one of the more intensive uses that's already existing in the operation, in the land use bylaw. But then you can see, so fertilizer operation obviously as well. But it does offer, a flour milling room, fiber mill. Again, these are things to allow expansion for existing uses. The other thing to keep in mind, obviously we're talking about, balancing the needs between encouraging growth in the economy and then having, residents and particularly people living in acreages, the right to respond and say whether or not this is something that's appropriate in their area. So we put it to you, that as particularly the major use is discretionary. Council, through your roles as the Municipal Planning Commission, you have the right to assess those and determine whether or not they are appropriate in the area. So if you think about an agricultural, somewhat agricultural area with some acreages, and somebody wants to put a business that's going to have traffic, obviously we need to respond to the fact that residents, that's a change for them. So as staff, we can look at that and say, well, is it possible that we can ask for a traffic impact assessment or a screening or something like that in order to accommodate them? You can work with the applicant in order to do that. And then you, as the commissioners, have the right to either refuse the application if you don't believe that it fits in the area, approve it if you think that it does, or amend the conditions. Right? So if you think that a screening plan wasn't provided and that it could be beneficial, or road could be upgraded or something like that, those can be done through the conditions, and then that essentially gives you some measure of control over what type of business is located where. Obviously, having that out of the use, the general use, that it opens up another opportunity for people to provide feedback through the land use bylaw amendment and the public hearing. The only danger with that I would point out is some of the other uses. It's on page 320. So there's some of the other uses that allow the agricultural processing, agricultural minor and major. So for example, intensive industrial general. Going to those uses in order to allow a somewhat agricultural type of use essentially removes all that area from being agricultural again, and now it's intensive industrial. So then there's a higher level of commercial uses that could take place there. The last item I would point out, we did look into the tax and assessments aspect of it, talking with our assessment group, and they did confirm that essentially the use of the land, not the land district, is what actually makes, is how it's assessed and how the land is valued. So whether or not it's ag general or industrial general, if it's a 40-acre parcel with 10 acres of commercial and 30 acres of pasture, it's still assessed the exact same. Obviously, it's different of the type of use they can do there, but if it's a commercial use under the egg processing, it would still be assessed exactly the same, no matter the land use. So that concludes my presentation. I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, obviously we're happy to address those. But in summary, we're recommending retaining both agriculture processing major and minor use within all current districts. This will help the county meet the goals of attracting business, providing job opportunities, growing the local economy, and reducing processing time. We note the assessment value is not impacted, and as the major agricultural processing major is a discretionary use, the Municipal Planning Commission approval is required, so you do have some oversight there. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions regarding the report?
I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Wilson has moved. Questions or discussion? One thing, just based on some of the conversation that we had before, the point on page 320 under the land use districts, with the point that you made around if we did require redesignation, that would open up to other developments that were not of an agricultural nature that could potentially have more impacts, and then how that would kind of eliminate the need for a public hearing at that redesignation process. That was kind of key for me, because I think there is a big difference if you're considering an agricultural operation and the impacts of that versus some of the other industrial uses that you could see in the other designations. And so, because like I saw your point before, around that kind of fine line between some of the potential agricultural operations and industrial use. And then I also really liked when you identified that certain uses would better fall under other types of development. I forget the term that it was called, but I'll find it. The one where it was like hazardous, or there was another one that it was under uses where like a fertilizer production facility might better be considered a hazardous industry use, that type of thing. It could help as well.
I think it was page 320, 321.
Yeah, I was just looking there. Yeah, that it's expressly named in hazardous industry. So there is a note there that the definition could be, this is for council consideration, could be amended to ensure that the agricultural processing use is not used for that type of operation. So that would be something council could consider. But it is already captured in that definition, so.
I've just got one question. I just want to know. So just as an example, if I owned a feedlot, I had a current feedlot, and I decided to put up an abattoir, and I wanted to slaughter my own cattle on the, would that designation change or whatever, would there be public input on that, whether or not that got done, or would that just get rubber stamped?
Probably. probably be discretionary.
There'd be circulation, but not a public hearing. But there would be circulation.
That would be my only, because I would want the people in the area to be able to have input into that. Because although I personally agree with it, 99.9, unless it was my neighbor, then I might have a problem. But you know what I'm saying?
The disadvantage to doing it at the DP stage, and administration can correct me if I'm wrong, is if redesignation was required, then you don't have you're not exposing yourself to the risk at appeal that you are with a development permit, right?
That's correct.
Like a redesignation decision can't be appealed. Yes, it can be, but a different process. It would have to be a procedural error. Right?
That's correct, procedurally.
So public input there would be the possibility, because there would be circulation as part of the development permit as a discretionary use under Ag Major, but there wouldn't be a public hearing.
But what about Ag Minor?
And there is the appeal.
Because
Ag Minor is permitted, and so that would be an administration. And I don't believe there's circulation for permitted uses.
Because I can see where you could have, I'm looking at agricultural processing minor, processing major. I could have 100 head daily slaughterhouse that has my own animals, and that could be. No, but if I had a big enough feedlot, I could do that. Or I could be an agricultural large scale if I had 100 head and I brought the animals in. So you know what I'm saying. I'm just I just want to make sure that there's public input. I believe there should be public input on anything that could.
We want minor and discretionary too.
I think so.
So keeping in mind, I'm just going to the definition, because agricultural minor is a small-scale value added that includes the use of land and/or building for the upgrading of a product that was originally produced in an agricultural operation. So the on-site that was noted in the report. They're intended to primarily use agricultural products which are produced on-site, and they should not produce any off-site impacts. So that's inherent to the definition of minor. So anything that would be identified that could have off-site impacts would qualify as major.
But if I put a state-of-the-art slaughtering facility in there, I will not have any of that. It'll all be contained.
If you're going to have 100 head a day, you're going to have off-site impacts through your traffic impacts.
Well, no, but if they're coming from my feedlot.
No, but
You'd still have to export your
You're
product.
still exporting that, or customers.
And also, if I may, in that example, abattoir is a separate use, which is discretionary. So that would be a whole other
Different
analysis.
Different
Oh yeah, no, then I'm okay. I'm okay with that, because that's the only one that's gonna. Okay, thank you.
I do agree with you. Like anything that has the potential for impacts to adjacent landowners, there should be an opportunity for input. And I think that's why that definition, like differentiating those definitions, is so critical. And then we need to entrust that our administration are interpreting the applications correctly. So.
Right, because I think we just ran into that situation. Like that we just had an issue that came forward that we had a. No, we had a come forward that it was deemed complete and it wasn't deemed complete, and that was I think that was the whole complaint about everything. The people that fought against it was not deemed complete. So, and that is, I think it has to fall on staff's shoulders at that point, because we get it after the fact, right? So, yeah, I guess there is trust involved in this, and we hope that. No, we just hope that we have the best people working for us. Well,
I think there is a differentiation too, and I'll let administration speak to this, but there's very strict criteria on what deems an application complete. and they have checklists. Some of it is, there's some sort of subjective, or I don't have the right word. You can just use discretion in what you might require in terms of reports or that type of thing. But they are the experts at that. And then we always do have the opportunity, if there's more information that we require, to make an informed decision, whether it's as a commissioner or as part of the planning authority through the council. We can always request more information.
Yes, that's exactly it, Madam Reeve. Just through the Reeve to Council, we do have checklists that upon receiving an application, obviously, as Council's aware, we can't deem something complete until it meets the checklist. And we do have discretion, and depending on, these checklists are ever evolving too, right? So I'd just like to make a note that it's a learning process as well. So as we continue going down through the applications, as Councillor Eichert noted, there are different new uses and or developments that come into the county. Some are precedent setting, and sometimes we need to request additional studies that we may not have requested before or have ever requested. So it's a ever evolving process, but there is a stringent requirement for checklists upon application submission that staff do follow. Thank you.
Just a question, if checklists are met, an applicant can still push to have it brought before, whether or not staff have, they still have the right to push it to go to MPC, right?
Through the Reeve, yes.
Yeah, so that's why.
Any other questions or discussion regarding the report? All in favor? Motion is carried. I do appreciate the work that went into the background and the context for this. It is really very useful. We'll move to 5.1, correspondence. There's a thank you regarding Standards Memory Lane Park. There is follow-up correspondence from MLA here regarding the boat access that we had, or the access we had previously discussed at the Bow River. And we also included some correspondence from the Wheatland and Area Hospice Society. It's an executive summary and a review of their proposal for rural hospice. I don't think there's any specific action required, so we could just accept as information.
I'll move to accept as information.
Councillor Eichert has moved. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to our closed session, section 6. I'll move that we move into closed session. All in favor? Motion is carried. We could probably go in there. It doesn't matter.